We got a dollar. We got a dollar. We got a dollar. Hey, 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 hey. We got a dollar. We got a dollar. We got a dollar. Hey, 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 hey.
So now that you've got $1 in your first payday, it's super important to understand the difference between hourly, gross pay, and net pay, as well as what taxes or other deductions are taken out of your paycheck. So some important payday terms, first of all, is to understand what hourly pay is. This is pretty common for most people. It's when you get paid for every single hour you work. And typically you're given a wage, which is a set dollar amount per hour. So for example, you might earn $9.50 per hour. To figure out what you get your paycheck for, you would take your total hours worked and you would multiply that by your wage. Now this is opposite of a salary, which is when you earn a set amount in a year. And how they figure out what you get paid every pay period is they take that dollar amount, that set salary amount, and they divide it by 26 pay periods. And the reason we go with 26 is because there are 52 weeks in a year and we get paid bi-weekly or every 2 weeks. And so 26 times 2 is roughly 52 weeks in a year. So we've got two types of pay again, hourly pay and a salary. And whichever one you get, you're going to have deductions or certain amounts of money taken out of your paycheck before you can actually walk away with your money. Sometimes these are called withholdings. So we're going to take a look at the different types of deductions or withholdings that can be taken out of your paycheck.
Look, my first paycheck! Look at the window, there's my name. Hi, me. God, isn't this exciting? I earned this. I wiped tables for it, I steamed milk for it, and it was totally not worth it. Who's FICA? Why is he getting all my money?
As stated before, once you get your first paycheck, whether you're paid hourly or salary, you will have deductions or certain things taken out of that paycheck. In the Friends clip, Rachel gets her first paycheck. Well, in reality, FICA isn't a person, but it's the government, and specifically, it is certain taxes that are withheld from every single paycheck. Now, FICA, or the Federal Insurance Contributions Act, actually has two things that fall under it in terms of tax. The first is Social Security tax, which provides a benefit to anybody who's retired. The second is a Medicare tax, and that provides medical benefits for people who retire or once they hit age 65. Other things that are taxed from your paycheck include state taxes and federal income taxes. And these finance things like wars, community development, law enforcement, could be roads, schools, anything like that. The last thing that you can take out or deduct, withhold from a paycheck would be certain benefits. Now, these don't have to be taken out or withheld. This is totally up to you as the employee. Some examples might be if you wanted to take out union dues. You could take out more money that you put into a 401k, which is a retirement account. You could take out or withhold money to pay for health insurance. Again, some people don't take out any money or withhold any money for their benefits, but some do. So if I'm taking a look at my pay stub right here, it's going to list all of these deductions on my pay stub. Now it's important to first see that my pay is listed right over here, and it says that for this pay period, I received $1,926.54. I want you to note that that's not the actual amount that got deposited into my bank account or that I got to take home. If you'll see right above here, it says my direct deposit was only for $1,349.90. So that difference is what was going to be deducted out of my paycheck. And you'll see all of those things listed here to the right. So we've got our federal tax and our state tax. And then remember, we have our FICA that we have to take out. So here's the Medicare part of FICA. And then this OASDI, that's Social Security. So we've got those 4 deductions. And then again, you can also have some benefits taken out. So you'll see I have my union dues that are taken out of my paycheck. I have another TRA and Lutheran Brotherhood. Those are my retirement accounts and my 403B account that are taken out of my paycheck. And you can see just a summary of this down here at the bottom. And I really like the terminology it's going to use. So it says in this current pay period, my gross pay was $1,926.54. Then it listed all of my deductions. It totaled my deductions. And then it said my net pay, or my take-home pay, was $1,349.90. So again, it's important to understand this concept of gross pay versus net pay. You'll see in this picture we've got Mr. Gross. He's very large. That's because our gross pay is our pay before deduction. So it looks like a really big amount. And if you look at Mr. Net Pay, he's pretty skinny, and that's because our net pay is our pay after deduction. So it's going to be a lot smaller, like in my case, because we're subtracting all of our deductions out of our gross pay. Another word for net pay is take-home pay. And so that final overall calculation that we do to figure out our net pay is we take our gross pay and we subtract our deductions, and then we get little skinny Mr. Net Pay that we take home.
This is Sarah. Sarah works 40 hours a week as a nanny for Mrs. Miller. Sarah is paid $15 per hour. Every week, Mrs. Miller pays Sarah. To calculate how much to pay her, she multiplies 40 hours by $15 to get $600. This is Sarah's gross pay. Next, Mrs. Miller calculates the payroll and income taxes she will deduct from Sarah's gross pay. For Social Security and Medicare tax, Mrs. Miller multiplies $600 by 7.65% and gets $45.90. Next, she checks IRS and state tax tables to find out how much federal income tax, $60, and state income tax, $25, to deduct from Sarah's gross pay. Mrs. Miller subtracts these amounts and writes Sarah's paycheck for $469.10. This is Sarah's net pay, or take-home pay. Mrs. Miller has to set aside the tax funds she deducts from Sarah's paycheck and send them to the state and federal tax authorities when they are due.
So I want you to be able to do these payday calculations. It's really a three-step process. In step number one, we have to figure out the gross pay. In this example, John works 30 hours and he has a wage of $9.45 per hour. So to figure out his gross pay, we're going to take the hours he worked and we're going to multiply them by his wage, $9.45, and we're going to get his gross pay of $283.50. Now we're going to have to take out his deductions. So in this example, I've just told you his deductions. He has $3.56 for union dues, $45 for health insurance, $20 for state tax, and $33 for federal tax. So we're going to take all those deductions, we're going to add them up together, and we're going to know that we need to deduct or subtract $101.56 from John's paycheck. So that's going to be step 3 when we figure out his net pay. We'll take his gross pay and we'll subtract his deductions, and his net pay or his take-home pay is actually $181.94. So you'll see that's why it's so skinny Mr. Net as compared to big Mr. Gross, because it is roughly 3/4 of the original amount. Now it's your turn to practice. In this example, Ethan works 29 hours a week and he earns $9.75 per hour. He has $4 for union dues, $8.75 for Social Security, $20 for state tax, and $34 for FICA taken out of his check. I want you to figure out what his gross pay is, the total amount deducted from his paycheck, and finally his net pay. And go to the next page to check your answer.